watching Juan Gotti Talking Sports.
YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here with yet another Washington football team video, and in today's video, I'm coming on here to talk about Washington players that are looking to have a comeback season in 2021. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. But before we do, make sure to go down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, and turn on post notifications so you get notified when I upload a video about the NFL, in this case, our Washington football team. We're so close to 3,000 subscribers. I know we can get there in no time if you guys support. Hit that big red subscribe button if you haven't already. Let's get straight into today's video. So the first person on my list who I personally think can make a comeback for Washington in 2021 is safety Landon Collins. Landon Collins, since getting signed by Washington a couple years ago, he just hasn't lived up to that $85 million contract. And you guys know that I'm not the biggest fan of Landon Collins. You guys know I've been saying I felt like he robbed us of $85 million. We got the Josh Norman treatment 2.0 with Landon Collins. Man, we paid him all this money. He just hasn't lived up to it. I mean, now with him coming off a torn Achilles, I really don't see how he could, bounce back. But that's not saying that he can't do it. It's not saying that I'm not rooting for him to do it. Obviously, I'm rooting for him because he plays for my favorite team. So Landon Collins could be a player who I personally think could have a comeback season, just as long as he stays healthy. One, he has to stay healthy to be on the field, and two, if he just plays to his strengths. You know what I'm saying? Being in the box is what he thrives at best. The biggest reason why I was like, why didn't he want to be a linebacker or anything, or at least convert to it to start off the season? Not saying you can't play safety, but he shut it down. He's like, I'm a safety, that's what I want to do. I would prefer to see him give linebacker a shot, but since he wants to stay at safety, that's fine. But he thrives at his best when he's in the box, able to play close to the line of scrimmage, able to make plays and behind the line of scrimmage, getting to the quarterback sometimes, making plays in the run game, making tackles. And what he lacks at the most, obviously, is pass coveraging, and that's really that's the reason why I preferred him to at least give linebacker a shot. But he's gonna thug it out and still stay at safety. So hopefully he's been working to improve his pass coveraging skills, because every time he goes up against a tight end, he gets killed. And I always say this each and every time we talk about Landon Collins, is even though I hate Giants fans and they're probably the most annoying fans in our division now, they were right. You know what I'm saying? Landon Collins was terrible, and quite frankly, he's been terrible since he's been here. Yeah, he had a few good games like week 2 versus the Arizona Cardinals, but out of that $85 million that we're paying him, he only has probably 3 or 5 games that I could name off on the top of my head that he played solid in, and either of those games he really hasn't been a game changer. You're paying someone $85 million, they should be a game changer, and Landon Collins just hasn't been that for us. Like I said, it's not saying that he can't eventually turn into that for us, but it's kind of getting late for Landon Collins, and I hope he can turn around, because I'm rooting for him, and I'm rooting for him because he plays on my favorite team, obviously, and I just love to see guys win. So hopefully he could turn it around for our Burgundy and Gold. But that's the first player that I think is going to be looking to have a comeback season, is Landon Collins, coming off that torn Achilles. Next player on my list is Matt Ioannidis. Matt Ioannidis, we know, went down in week 3 versus the Cleveland Browns. He tore his pec, and obviously with Matt Ioannidis, he was a player that was, arguably our best D lineman, interior D lineman. I know we have Big John and Deron Payne holding it down in the middle, but as far as a skill-wise D lineman, Matt Ioannidis is probably our best interior D lineman from a pass rushing standpoint and the ability to stop the run standpoint. Matt Ioannidis takes the cake in my opinion, and Matt Ioannidis he's never terrible. You know what I'm saying? The reason why he's on this list is only because he got hurt. If he didn't get hurt, he obviously wouldn't be on this list, and obviously Chase Young and Montez Sweat would have more stats than they did last year. You got to remember, like I said, they missed Matt Ioannidis for a majority of the season. He went down in week 3, and getting Matt Ioannidis back this year, as long as he can stay healthy, I really do think he's going to be a big contributor to Washington and this defensive line. Just imagine how good this D line is going to be when we get big Matt Ioannidis back in that middle. If you think we were something last year with Deron Payne and John Allen, the 2 first rounders, just imagine what we're going to have when we have Matt Ioannidis, and we're going to also throw Tim Settle in there, because we're going to have our rotation back. You remember Matt Ioannidis and Tim Settle were our rotational pieces when Deron Payne and John Allen needed a break. You know what I'm saying? And obviously we know this. Our D-line is so good to the point where Matt Ioannidis and Tim Settle would be two interior starting D-linemen on any other team in the NFL. That's just facts. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, with Matt Ioannidis coming back in the middle, wreaking havoc, being able to, get pressure up in the middle in the interior so the quarterback can't climb up in the pocket and escape like they did countless times last year. This is going to allow Montez Sweat and Chase Young to not only get sacks but cause pressure on the exterior, and that's going to also allow some of the big guys in the middle, Deron, John, Tim, and also Matt, to get some sacks and add to the repertoire. So with that being said, Matt Ioannidis is another player who I personally think is going to be looking to have a comeback season in 2021. Next player on my list is none other than wide receiver Kelvin Harmon. Yet another guy. You see the trend here? Another guy who really wasn't terrible for us, but a guy that was just injured. You know what I'm saying? Landon Collins, the only person that I named so far that I personally think was just terrible before his injury, but it just happens that he got the both of them. He was terrible and he was hurt, so that's the reason why he was number one on my list. But Kelvin Harmon, the next person on my list, a wide receiver from the 2019 draft class, who we thought had some, a chance to take over that wide receiver 2 role, because he in that late in that 2019 season, he really started to, show some promise, but then he tore his ACL while preparing for the 2020 training camp, so he's going to be looking to reassert himself in the NFL, and it's going to be tough because he's not a guarantee to make this roster, especially coming off the injury and especially having a new regime and Ron Rivera not drafting him. He's on the outside looking in. I really, really hope he finds a way to make this roster, because I really think Kelvin Harmon could be something special for Washington as far as being another weapon for the quarterback. So with Kelvin Harmon coming back, that's only going to add to the wide receiver room, and it's going to make it even more better. You guys know Kelvin Harmon is baby Julio, man. Not only does he look like him, but they play exactly alike as far as their build. You know what I'm saying? Kelvin Harmon and Julio Jones are go up and get it kind of receivers. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Julio is more skilled, and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, so I'm not comparing Kelvin Harmon and Julio as far as skill-wise, but the way they play the game is exactly the same. Kelvin Harmon can be that big target across the middle possession receiver, and don't let him fool you. He has a little burners on himself. So Kelvin Harmon coming back, I think he's going to be another player that's going to be in the running for comeback player for Washington. Damn, I was doing so good. Kelvin Harmon is another player who is looking to have a comeback season for Washington. Next player on my list is AGG, Antonio Gandy Golden, our rookie from last year. Another guy who just got hurt, and he really couldn't find his way back in the lineup when he was healthy. When he first went down in the Cleveland Browns game, I want to say that's when he got hurt. He just was out for so long with that hamstring injury. And then before he even got hurt, he just really never seen the field. And when he did, he didn't really make an impact. The biggest play I remember from AGG is when he had that reverse against the Cleveland Browns, and he took it for about 15 yards or so. That's the only play I remember Antonio Gandy Golden making. Other than that, he really just hasn't made any plays. And obviously the stuff was up against AGG. Not only was he injured last year, but he just really didn't have a proper offseason, and obviously none of the rookies did last year, so there's no excuse. But he didn't have no proper time to learn the system, really learn the NFL. So he's still in the process of developing, and that's why it's crazy that some of you guys really want to cut AGG. I don't blame you. Like I said, I personally think he's a lock to make this roster because they spent the 4th round draft pick on this guy in 2020. But then at the same time, they have so much talent on this team at the wide receiver position. I would not be surprised if they did end up cutting him. I wouldn't do it because you just spent the 4th round pick on him. He has so much to still learn. He's still developing, and I really hope AGG could somehow make this roster. It's going to be tough, but if he makes his roster, he's going to be looking to have a comeback season because his rookie season was just a wash. Next player on my list is safety Troy Apke. I know a lot of you guys aren't going to be happy about this one because Troy Apke is terrible, but Troy Apke is looking to have a new comeback year, I should say, for Troy Apke, because he's a guy who got a lot of praise from Ron Rivera last year. We thought he was going to come in here balling because Ron Rivera, if you remember in training camp, said this guy was playing phenomenal in training camp last year. So we really thought he was going to come out here and really be something, but he showed us early and often week 1 versus the Eagles. He was just not ready for the spotlight, and then ever since then he was just terrible until Landon Collins went down, so we had to throw Cameron Curl in there. And then Cameron Curl showed him how it was done, and Jeremy Reeves and DeShazer Everett showed him how it's really done. But Troy Aikman Traps is looking to make a new resurgence of itself, looking for a comeback year for Washington. But like I said, I don't know if that's going to happen because I don't even know if he's going to make this roster. I know a lot of you guys out there don't want Troy Aikman to make this roster, but hey, they moved him the cornerback for at least practice, so let's see if that's something. I don't know if it is, but maybe it could be something for Troy Aikman, man, but we're going to see. So next player on my list is cornerback Jimmy Moreland. Now the thing with Jimmy Moreland is, on top of not really getting that much burn last year, he didn't play that well. Now he didn't play terrible. I remember he made a couple good plays in the Pittsburgh Steelers games and other games in this year, but like I said, he just really wasn't making the plays that we thought he was going to make. He didn't really live up to what we thought he was going to do coming off that good 2019 season that he had. But Jimmy Moreland is a guy who, if he makes this roster, could look to have a good a comeback year for Washington. I personally think they need to at least give him a chance outside in training camp, because he gets eaten up in the inside, man. He's too small, and I mean, he can play it a little bit, but I personally think he would be way better on the outside. So if he isn't going to start on the outside, at least give him a shot to prove himself on the outside. I really think Jimmy Moreland could be that guy on the outside. Not saying starting wise for Washington, just because we think we have our 2 starting outside corners. So I just say give him at least a chance to prove himself. But Jimmy Moreland is a guy who I personally think is going to be looking to have a comeback season, because he didn't really play terrible, but he didn't play all that well either. So Jimmy Moreland is another guy who I think is going to be having a comeback season. Now the last person on my list is wide receiver Steven Sims. Now once again with Troy Aikman, I know a lot of you guys don't want him on this roster, so I could very well not see him making it past training camp. But if he does and he makes the active roster, I could see him looking to have a comeback year, because he was just terrible, from fumbling punts to dropping wide open passes. He was just terrible all around the board. And similar to Jimmy Moreland, Steven Sims was a guy who we thought was going to be really good for Washington, considering the fact of how good his rookie year was. We thought at a point in time, well, I shouldn't say we, I'm gonna say I thought at a point in time he was going to be our wide receiver 2 coming into this year, but he just didn't live up to it. And I personally think he ruined his chance and his chances with Washington, and I don't see him making this roster. But if he does somehow, he could be a guy that's looking for a comeback season with Washington. But yeah, man, it's me, your boy Juan Gotti. I just wanted to come on here quickly to talk about players who I personally believe are looking to have a comeback season for Washington in 2021. Let me know how you guys feel about this video down below. Put down below, who do you think is looking to have a comeback season for Washington in 2021? As always, it's me, your boy Juan Gotti. Like, comment, subscribe. Hell to the Washington football team. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers, so hit that big red subscribe button. I know we can get there in no time if you guys support. It's me, boy Juan Gotti. I'm out. Peace. Cross me one time, that's gonna get you pop. Get you pop, get you drop, slide.